Actually, it was a major accident. I had no plans to join the hotel business. I had no understanding of the hotel business. From a very simple family background, I had even no exposure to the hotel business. I left home after doing my graduation because I wanted to be on my own. I started work as a medical representative, and I roamed some villages in Rajasthan and Punjab, and I learned lots of what I use in life today. And one Sunday morning in Jalandhar, I looked up at the Tribune newspaper, and there was a full-page ad talking about management trainees for Oberoi Hotels. So something clicked. It was in my destiny. My learning from my 2 years of an MBA in France, or hospitality MBA with Cornell in France, I lived and studied and worked with 45 nationalities over those 2 years. And my biggest takeaway was not what I learned about the hotel craft. That was an essential anyways, but really how people react to situations, how they behave in different situations, depending on where they come from, and depending upon the way they're brought up, the background in which they're brought up, and the biases and the bent of mind that is already ingrained in you as you're growing up. So it helps you understand why somebody from another part of the world is behaving the way he is. And initially sometimes it's very difficult to understand. At 28, I ran away from the Oberois and from India and went to Liberia and West Africa, and I ran an airport hotel at a very young age. Other than an MBA from France, I had nothing that equipped me to actually run a hotel. So great learning, 3 years. Part of my heart and my soul is still in Africa, and that's one of the reasons we have success in Africa, and we're operating Sarovar Hotels there now. The other one was again as a young general manager at 31, 32 of the Oberoi in Hyderabad. The essence of it all is that you really have a productive assignment if you can make a team of average, above average people come together and deliver something exceptional to the guest. And I had done my stint with Oberoi Hotels. I had done Liberia. I had migrated to Australia. I moved on to Amsterdam, where I went through the experience of not being a hotelier briefly and selling shoes and shirts to chain stores in Europe. And my venture had failed. So I picked up the phone and called Mr. Madok. And he said, Ajay, if you and me put together can't run a hotel in this country, then nobody can. So come over. So that was my entry into Sarovar. And this goes back 46 years. It's been a fab journey all these years. I've enjoyed it. I'm still enjoying it. And that's probably the reason why I'm still part of the business. Sarovar was born in 1994, and it was the brainchild and the vision of the one and only Anil Matok. He'd spent his lifetime in luxury hotels, and on my part, I joined Sarovar about a year after it was born. The idea was to occupy the space in between the luxury and the very expensive hotels, and the complete rubbish at the bottom end of the pyramid. There was nothing in between, or there was very little in between. We've worked on the basics. Can you provide a hygienic environment that's top notch? Can you provide good food on the plate and on the palate? And can you really take care of the basic needs and the security of your guests, men and women alike? And believe it or not, 30 years ago, there weren't too many people in that space who were doing that. So I think our timing was right. We built Sarovar on 3 very clear parameters, or three strong pillars, because me and Mr. Madok sat together in the early stages, and I said to him, what's going to be so different between us two and anybody else who's run a good hotel? and who has a fax machine at home. Mobiles hadn't still started off in those days. So we said, number one, as a management company, we recognize that the owner is the king. He's the one who's taking the capital exposure. He's the one who's taking the risk. And we are providing a service to our owners. So build long-term relationships with your owners. And I'm very proud to this day that hotels like the Marine Plaza in Mumbai, relationships with our partners in Chennai and Hyderabad are beyond 25 years, and places like Ludhiana. And with several owners, we've done a second and a third and a fourth hotel. So, we believed in what we talked about, what we said. We passed on those values down the line to everyone in the organization. The other big thing was build the ability to bring business to your hotels, because you can be very fancy and very special and know all the processes that run a hotel business, but if there's no business, the owner doesn't want you. So right from 3 sales offices, we have about 16 now across the country, from as many as 30 people in a sales office like Delhi to single offices in Surat and Jaipurs and Vijaywadas and all these places. So even today in the modern world, where a lot depends upon OTAs and online, we bring in 26% of total business to our hotels from our own sales offices, funded by Sarovar. And the other big thing was that we will have people that independent owners can neither attract nor retain. So starting from things as simple as a corporate chef, a corporate housekeeper, a corporate person for engineering services. Today we have a team of 120 people, from chefs to housekeepers to IT to finance to purchase, you name it, as support services, technical services for setting up hotels, engineering services to handle those problems. And I can say quite clearly and unarguably, we are the only company in this country that's providing that level of support to our owners, and we're doing it at our cost. So those things have stayed with us. Those values have stayed with us for the last 3 decades, and these values are not debatable. They are not arguable. They are not subject to any form of compromise, and they're here to stay, irrespective of the individuals, whether we stay or not. We're a little shy and conservative as a company, so we don't talk about too many things till we go and achieve them. But I think there's metamorphosis, there's transformation that's happening now. When Mr. Madhok left us last year and went to his hotel in the sky, we were 100 hotels. In a very short time of a year, we've crossed 120. The systems and the personalities and the relationships that got us from 0 to 50 to 75 to 100, while some of it still holds us in good stead, they need change. They need more emphasis on technology. They need much stronger emphasis on process and system than we had in the past. So we are going through a significant amount of change, and with Jatin Khanna as CEO, and he spent over 2 years with us now. I think we are on the track to Sarovar being a smarter, sharper, younger, nimble-footed company, adaptable to rapid change, and with processes that carry us through more than personalities. Hotel Marine Plaza on Marine Drive in Mumbai, our oldest hotel in the group, phenomenal relationship, phenomenal hotel. Sarovar survived on Marine Plaza in its initial years. And the Sarovar Premier in Lusaka, Zambia, it's our pride and joy, and it's the finest hotel in all of Zambia. We beat the big names, Intercontinentals, Hilton, Taj, etc., and we are at the top by miles. Well, we are, in my opinion, the first ones in the country to put RO water in every single room. We have a separate facility, a separate dispenser in every single room in our upcoming property in Chennai. So no more plastic bottles, no more bottles at all. You take your mug or your glass and you, or your sipper, and you fill it up and you drink pure water inside every single room. And really, if you ask me what is Sarovar, very simply, you're coming home. I think it's a fascinating business. And of course, I will always be biased. I spent the large bulk of my working life in hotels. The nicest things about the business, the most positive things about the business is your thirst and your hunger for travel and for learning are fulfilled very nicely. You're exposed to different cultures, you're exposed to different parts of the world. You're exposed to different people, and you're exposed to people under stress, people celebrating, people mourning sometimes, and people just going through a rough time at work. And it teaches you how to interact with people, how to be empathetic, how to be compassionate. You meet and make friends, not just meet, but make friends with some really special people. In my life, if I go back, I've known Anupam Kher as a brother and a friend for the last 35 years. And I have lots and lots of other people who were guests in my hotels. They were formal. They were not so familiar with the hotel business, and you got to meet them, and then you made friends, and you became part of family. You learn your lessons from watching role models. Your Narayan Murthis and so many of them. President Abdul Kalam. We have so many of them. So it's fantastic. I don't see any of the profession offering you that close a view of the big stage. If you are mobile and free-spirited and ready to travel, it's even better because then the horizons really open up for you. And I think irrespective of nationality, irrespective of passport, irrespective of religion, and yes, languages always help, but irrespective of your first language, you can move around the world and learn and contribute to change and significant change. But the hotel business gives you a more in-depth perspective of how to communicate with people, how to handle people, how to make sure people are going out happy from your hotels. Put your heart into it. I think that goes for any business, but really, if the sincerity is not there, you're half a hotelier, and you'll never be a complete hotelier. It's got to come from the heart. I always tell my teams and my people, treat a guest in your hotel as a guest in your house. Who doesn't want a guest in the house to go out happy and smiling? And the same should happen in a hotel. And irrespective of whether you have all the means to cater to the person's likings or needs or not, how you make the other person feel, and if it's coming from the heart, and there's a lot of hard work that goes behind it. Hotel is not really a cakewalk, and the hotel job requires, at least for the first 10 or 20 years, a large input in terms of time, in terms of unsociable hours. But there is a lot of fruit and a lot of reward and a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. It's a lot of fun, actually, hotels. Something I learned working with the Japanese in Australia, and that is, things will always go wrong, whatever you do. You take 10 decisions, one or two will go wrong at every level, as long as you study enough before you take the decision. When things go wrong, rather than band-aid solutions, for example, if you're an unhappy guest, rather than that glass of wine or an extended stay or a free this or a free that, pull back and examine all the systems that fell apart. What process did not work for things to go wrong? If it takes a day, 2, 3, a week, a month, look at that very closely and fix the system, fix the process. That reduces the repetition of the same thing happening again and again. And I think that's a big key. Speak your mind. I think that's one of the things that's missing in our culture. Speak your mind. Present your views. Go out and take decisions. Do things for yourself. The easy part is to always ask the boss what is right and what's wrong. But I think it's important you go ahead and take some decisions and move on and take responsibility. I always say to my people, do your job so I can do mine. Huge growth of aspiration in smaller cities in India. They're better connected. They're better connected on the internet. They're better connected in life. They're better exposed. They travel, and they want what they did not get in their cities so far. What they had to travel for, whether into larger cities in the country or different parts of the world, from good food, from more innovation, from great presentations, to just good experiences wherever you go. And I think there is a lot of wealth in these countries. There's a lot of pent up demand for good experiences, and the future in India is the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 cities that are waiting for better facilities to come across, and that is the biggest trend for the next 10 to 20 years. What's really happening on the food front? What's changed so dramatically? Over the last 20 odd years or so, hotels lost the plot on food, because we were very focused on those people sleeping in our beds. It gave us a certain comfort value. Money was coming in, and we said, okay, we got to feed the guy breakfast somewhere, so we'll figure that one out. But beyond that, we lost the plot. And independent restaurants, independent chefs, bright youngsters, even people that moved away from the hotels into doing their own things, created food and value there which didn't exist. So we are playing the catch-up game now. What's changed in trends is that the days of really fine specialty, fine dining restaurants, we served a particular cuisine, whether it was Italian, whether it was French, whether it was only Indian. I think those demands are limited compared to what they were in the past. Today, if you got different people eating at the same table, 6 people, somebody wants a sushi, somebody wants a pasta, somebody wants a nalli, ghost, etc., and they want to be able to have it all and share it all. So a lot will depend upon our ability to create good experiences. Whether a hotel gives you a little counter serving masala chai, and serving the local rusk, than those beautiful croissants, because people don't eat croissants at home. It's a great experience at different times. But if you can bring in a slice of home to a hotel and present it really, really well and create an experience, I think it's going to take hotels up where they belong. I distinguish between spiritual and religious. I think religious is on the rise. Spiritual in India is still restricted to a few places, maybe a little bit in Kerala, maybe Rishikesh, etc., offering you those yogas and things. But spiritual is a very personal thing. You don't necessarily go out to busy places and hotels for spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is more internal. But religious, yes, I think religious is big and will continue to grow. Sarovar has more hotels in religious places than other hotel chains. That's my belief. So from Katra for Vaishno Devi to Vrindavan in the north, to the Golden Temple in Amritsar. We have a property opening up in Ajmer now, close to the Dargah, Ajmer Sharif. We have Tirupati. We have Ayodhya. We're the only branded hotel in all of Ayodhya at the moment. I think there's huge demand. I also believe that the real level of hotel in these places, in religious places, is always that 3-star, 4-star segment. However wealthy one may be, when you're going on a pilgrim tour of sorts, your mind is focused towards austerity. And I think hotels in that segment would probably do better than hotels with luxury and with spas and all those things. People are not necessarily looking for that in these places. Well, for one, the interesting part is that if you look at the last decade, hotel development in India is not the fiefdom of the multinational brands or the multinationals, so to say. So whether you take a Taj or an ITC or an Oberoi or a Sarovar or a Fortune or a Lemon Tree or a Lalit, we outnumber hotel development by strides and by miles to our international counterparts. And that was not the scene till a while ago. On the Prime Minister's vision of more and more happening within the country, I think one of the biggest things that's happened is that you have more weddings happening in India, to the extent that one's got to differently tailor the development, the building construction and the space allocation in your hotels to banquets and shadis. There's serious money there. There always will be in a country like India. And I think that's big development. What does tourism mean to India? We are thankful, we are grateful to the government to create additional infrastructure over the last 10 years. It's a big boon for the country. Airports, roads, seaports, it's all developing, and there is continued emphasis in that area. So it helps us directly and indirectly. Easier for people to throw their kids and the dog and everything else in the back of the car and drive out for 3, 4, 5 hours into peace and quiet and a different scenario. On the other hand, I think the hotel industry has never been able to convey to successive governments over the last 1, 2, 3 decades the potential that tourism holds in this country. And not just the potential from seeing different places. We have a bonanza of that, but really the potential to employ 10 times, 15 times, 20 times more people than the millions we already employ. That needs a shift in thinking. You know, today in India, one large event, one big wedding, one large conference, etc., and the city is sold out. We have less capacity than ABC cities in the world. We have less capacity in the country than smaller cities across the world. So I think for that to happen, there's got to be an approach where the government says, hey, this is an opportunity. Let's really go full hog towards that. Hasn't happened so far. We're always hopeful that we'll form part of important infrastructure one day for this country, and we're also always hopeful that hotels will be looked at more as places of gainful and interesting employment, rather than places where rich people enjoy life. So many of them, but I think to my mind, what touched my heart, Kapil Dev, in fact, even before the 80s, in my days as management trainee at the Maidens Hotel, he wasn't such a big celebrity, but he always came from the heart. He was always very sincere, and just a brief interaction with him. I've known him now for 35 plus years. And the man stays as close to earth as he was all those years ago. I would say Puneet Chatwal would be top of the list. Pathu Keswani would be very close to the top. I don't think we have somebody who's so visible right now. Seeing execution of what you conceive in the mind. I meditate. I have a spiritual inclination. I do yoga. I go to the gym, and I cycle. Travel light with all the security stuff. Don't wear belts. Don't wear buckles on shoes, and get used to laundries and recycling stuff that you carry with you. My most memorable guest experience is probably Ravi Raina. I had the habit of picking up 4 or 5 people every day at the Oberoi and just calling them up and saying, "Are you free for a drink, for a meal, whatever, etc., etc., etc." And one time I called 2 people for lunch and they both kind of accepted. So you know, it was a bit of a juggle. But then I met Ravi Raina, and he was a regular guest in Oberoi Hotels for years and years and years. And starting from a scenario where things didn't go so well, to then being friends, and he visited me in pretty much every part of the world, or I visited him. So whether it was Sydney, Australia, whether it was Amsterdam, whether it was Nairobi, Kenya, we've sort of been in touch, not as hotel guest and hotelier, but as friends and brothers. And I think those are the things that stay close to the heart. The Trident in Gurgaon. I had the good fortune to work, even though it was short periods, both with Rai Bahadur, Mohan Singh Oberoi, and then with Mr. Vicky. And these were larger than life people. They were the only ones of their kind in the whole world, and you learned life's lessons. So from Rai Bahadur, resolving the most complex problem in the whole world as you saw it, with a very simple one-liner, two-liner answer, without too much drama. With Mr. Vicky Oberoi, the quest, the uncompromising quest for excellence, whatever it took, and how many takes it took, and creativity that you can't really imagine. So these were big. The other person who shaped my life, other of course than Mr. Madhok, with whom I worked for the best part of my life, was Dean Robert Beck, who was dean at Cornell in New York for 20 years, and who set up the program in Paris. One of the most interesting ones, created from nothing and in a space that hardly existed, is the Jaipur Adda on the rooftop of the hotel in Jaipur. We had no space. It's a very tiny rooftop, part covered, part open. So we teamed up with Prasenjit, who's an expert in restaurants, and he created something so novel that even for a large vegetarian client in a place like Jaipur, and for people who are not drinking, we have the place open till 11, 12 and beyond that. It's even today, 6-7 years after its inception, it's a success and a venue for Jaipur youngsters to go to. For me, the kitchen. I spent many months in kitchens, and it would still be my favorite part. My favorite thing on the menu is sliced avocado, just the right level of ripeness, a sprinkling of olive oil, and a sprinkling of rock salt. The president of Zambia inaugurating the Sarovar premiere in Lusaka, Zambia. Personal discipline. If you don't have personal discipline, you will never have professional discipline. And a very simple message, always take your work seriously, never take life too seriously.